our mission, should we choose to accept it.
I accept. I'm Tom Cruise!
He's fine. No one was injured while attempting this stunt.
Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are Excellent Little Podcast.
Dun, dun, presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch. And dun, 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 dun.
And we are bringing you for this episode of Little Movie Podcast, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
Part 1?
Mm-hmm, Part 1.
Oh, shoot. You know how much I don't like Part 1s.
I know how much you don't like Part 1s, but
hey,
here we go. So summary is Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands.
Studio brought to you by Paramount Pictures, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Screenplay, Bruce Geller, Eric Jendrinson, and also Chris McQuarrie. Duration is about 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Wonderful job, Mitch.
Let's not waste any more time, because this is Mission Impossible. What we do here, we do things quite differently here. We have our introduction, which you just heard. We are now about to go into our non-spoiler section, where Zach will give his thoughts. I will give mine, since this is my number 4, and we'll talk about the cast and other non-spoilerly things. We will then go into the review. Zach will break it down. We will do our review, and then we will sound an alarm for we will enter our spoiler section. Mm-hmm. All right, without further ado, yes. Zach, go right ahead.
All right, so my first thoughts. I don't know if it's just I've been seeing so many more movies now or whatnot, but for me, action films have been kind of going down on the list of things I've been enjoying more. I've kind of been enjoying more story, more drama, more things. I don't know if it's just because I've been seeing more movies. I don't know if it's just because I've been wanting more art. I don't know. But for me, this movie really wasn't for me. I will say, though, if you are into the big action and you're really into Mission Impossible, you are going to really, really like this. I feel like it's very well done. It was pretty Mission Impossible-y, if I have to say so. Mitch, what are your first thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. To be 100% honest, I had only seen the first 2 Mission Impossible films before these past 2 months. Then I binge watched, I watched 3, 4, 5, and 6. And to me, they just kept getting better and better and better. So I put this on my top 10. And even though, yes, it's a part 1, but to me, it didn't feel like a part 1 almost. At the end of the film, I was like, okay, I can see why I enjoyed this film a lot more than Across the Spider-Verse, which, to be fair, that one felt like a part 1. This one did not. Gotcha. So I really enjoyed it. I mean, Tom Cruise did phenomenally, especially with everything that was talked about during the COVID pandemic. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film.
Well, speaking of Tom Cruise, let's go ahead and talk about some cast performances where we'll go ahead and talk about 2 of them. Tom Cruise coming back for Ethan Hunt, and newcomer for the series, Haley Atwell, playing Grace. What'd you think of our friends?
They had really good chemistry together, which I never... Here's the thing about Tom Cruise's acting ability. He either has great chemistry with the actors around him, or he doesn't. And Haley Atwell, she's good, but we haven't really seen her do anything other than the Marvel stuff. I know she did Christopher Robin, but I haven't seen her do much outside of the Marvel. Have you?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of things. I really enjoy her acting ability, and I think that she did bring a very nice new tone to the franchise. I think having her being a thief is a really wonderful thing to have, and is a really good juxtaposition and new thing kind of to add to Mission Impossible. And then I feel like Tom Cruise he's Tom Cruise.
Right.
I hate him. I think he kind of plays the same character throughout almost every film for me. It's Tom Cruise playing a role more so than him diving into a role. But it's Ethan Hunt. He's one note, almost kind of he's a two-dimensional character. I wouldn't say he's a one-dimensional character because he does care about his friends. He does do things for his friends, and his friends are first and his mission is second, which is really interesting. But it's a two-note character. I want a three-dimensional character, you know?
And so what you're trying to say is Haley brought in that almost near third dimension that you've been wanting from
I had a
characters.
lot more. I enjoyed a lot more of this movie when Haley was on screen.
Okay, that's fair. Now, one performance that I thought it was okay, I kind of wanted more, was Isaiah Morales as Gabriel. So not a lot is seen in the trailers for him.
Correct.
But he's labeled as kind of a shifty player, and I wanted a little bit more of that.
That's fair. And yeah, I think they're kind of playing him more as kind of like the Moriarty. Like he has a very big past with Ethan. They dive a little bit into it, but again, it's a part 1, so I feel like they'll dive more into him in part 2. I feel like this was a very much introduction to Gabriel and who Isaiah is playing, but I thought he did all right. He's very mysterious. I feel like we can't really give more of a judgment on his
Performance
character until we see part 2.
I would agree.
But I thought he did fine with the script that he did. But I think I have to reserve judgment until we actually see the next one.
And
on
that's
his performance.
fair. All right, there's our cast performances. Now it's time to go into some other non-spoilery things. First one is script and the pacing. Now, see, when I walked out, I told you this. I said, this film gives you no time to breathe at all, which at first I'm like, wow, that's a lot. But I enjoyed that about this film. And that's Mission Impossible.
That's fair.
Especially like from Ghost Protocol onward. You have no time to be like, oh, you gotta like, oh wow, like that sequence was so like exhilarating and intense where you have to like sit back in your chair and be like, they got through it, like the team got through it.
Sure.
But with this one, it's like bang, 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 bang. I'm like, oh wow, like like there was a few times I kind of pulled a Zach where I was like, oh, which you know me, Zach. I don't really talk in the theater a lot, but this one I'm like, I did it multiple times, like, oh shit. But I don't know. What do you think of this?
Yeah. One thing that I do think is the strength of this film, I think it actually does have really wonderful pacing. I do disagree with you a little bit. I think they did give you enough of a break in between each big set piece to breathe at least a little bit before moving on to the next thing. But they do a really good job of, to me, moderating that. While this film is almost 3 hours, for me, I did feel the time a little bit more than I feel your average friend was feeling it, but they did do a wonderful job of moving forward and going through things. So it was a very big strength of this film.
Yeah, and credit to the screenwriters for making sure that you didn't feel that lull too long, because with a film like this being 2 hours and 43 minutes, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. So bravo and to tell you the truth, this is probably one of the better scripts for recent films that we've seen. When I say recent films, well,
in terms of pacing, yes, I will say. In terms of like actual character dialogue and everything, not my cup of tea. But again, this film isn't necessarily for me.
That is not. That is fair. All right, so next one, it's the action and stunt work. It was there were some shots. I'm just like,
there were some good shots.
Yeah.
There was some good action. I will say, I think out of all the action that they did in this film, I think the third act was the strongest,
I would
especially on the last big action set piece at the very end of the film. It involves a train. That was really well done. I personally really enjoyed that. But I felt all the other ones were, if I'm honest, in terms of like, if you bring up the Mission Impossible standard, I felt that they were actually kind of lacking. Even the big motorcycle one that they're trying to sell on the trailer was very lacking, which I feel is kind of the reason why you come for a Mission Impossible movie. I felt that it wasn't as great as it could have been and wasn't up to the Mission Impossible standard.
That's fair. I feel like also it's one of those deals where McQuarrie didn't want to do too much with this film because he's like, okay, I want the audience to come back for what we are going to do for this second part.
That's fair.
Because we still we don't know anything about part 2. We haven't seen a trailer, and we're not going to, I truthfully don't see us getting a trailer until probably October.
Probably not.
I think this it's not going to be like a Top Gun Maverick of Tom Cruise, but people are going to go see it.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's not going to be a Top Gun Maverick, of course. But I think they're going to wait till like, okay, let people see this film, get it, let that sink in, and then we're going to see what part 2 is going to bring us with that trailer. But yeah, so there's our non-spoiler section.
There's our non-spoiler section. So let's go ahead and start going into our review section. So here at Little Movie Podcast, we review things a little differently here. We like to separate things into categories, and those categories are, starting from the bottom, is Feed It to the Dog, where we didn't care for the film, but we encourage you to see it. You should still see it in however you can to form your own opinion. Next category is Cook a Little More, where you need a little extra seasoning, spice, a little actor change, script change, something to kind of change it up to bring it up to our top category, which is Eat It Up, where we feel you should see it and you should see it in the theaters. But if you can't, we understand. Trying to see it as soon as possible, whether it's streaming or VOD, whatever you need.
I ate it up. I'm not even wasting time.
Oh, there you go. Right out of the gun.
I ate it up. Yeah. Bravo to everybody involved. Paramount, if there's one thing about Mission Impossible, they keep raising the stakes. And that's what this film that I forgot to mention with not my first thoughts, the stakes keep getting higher and higher and higher. I mean, in the trailer, who's the bigger villain right now in the world? It's AI.
Yeah.
What could happen? And that's one of the biggest stakes from any action film in recent memory. So
Sure.
I got to say, this is an eat it up for me.
All right.
Zach?
Yeah. It pains me to say, this movie I agree, is an eat it up.
You didn't eat your vegetables, Zach.
I will say it again. This movie personally is not for me. If I were to rate it on a scale for my own personal self, this would probably be more of a Cook a Little More or Feed It to the Dog. However, as a recommendation, I do have to put my thoughts to the side. It's a popcorn movie. It's an action movie. I do think that overall, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. So for a review, I do have to say it is an eat it up.
Fair enough. All right. So before we go into our last section, we have a question for you all to answer in the comments. Which is your favorite Mission Impossible film?
Mine personally is 3. I really enjoy Mission Impossible 3 the best. I know that's a lot of people don't care for that, but that was the first big twist that I ever had in my life that I went, oh, that was a good one.
I think I'm going to say Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout, the one with Henry Cavill. I really like that one. That's my second favorite. Yeah, I think this one is my third favorite behind Fallout and Ghost Protocol. I love Ghost Protocol. All right, so before we go, and you don't want to hit our spoilers, go ahead and leave us a like, subscribe, comment, follow our other stuff. Comment your answer. Email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. But it's time.
This mission will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Wait, hold on.
Not go into spoiler.
Oh, hold on. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. You did it. You went a little too fast, but it's okay.
No, it's good. But now we're into our spoilers.
Ilsa dies.
And to be honest, I really never cared for her character.
I didn't either.
If I'm honest. So
I truthfully thought that when they brought in Haley Atwell, I'm like, okay, she's going to die. Yeah. It's another, which, can we talk about how like Ethan Hunt kind of like fell in love with Haley Atwell's character almost? It was weird.
And to be honest, I didn't buy that at all.
No, I didn't buy it at all.
Throughout the entire thing, I was like, I don't see. Yeah, no, but
because she even said like, you don't even know me. How do you care so much about me? You've only known me for like 2 days. And I'm just like,
feelings like
sure it happens,
but like I didn't buy any of their romantic.
Yeah,
ties.
Maybe next one.
Yeah. The next one of how it pretty much ends is like Hunt getting the key, which I figured by the end we probably would. I think it would have been more interesting if Gabriel did end up getting the key. But Hunt getting the key, it makes sense to continue on the story with. And then Grace joining the IMF. Kittredge has always been a really slimy kind of character.
Yeah.
So the fact that he kind of says like you're only buying her time with her being part of the IMF, like,
come on,
who gives a care? Honestly, like she is a very capable character. You should have the choice be, of course, letting her expunge her record for joining the IMF. Like that's kind of the point of the choice. So I don't understand why he's saying like you're only buying time. That makes no sense.
Right. I have a feeling that there may have been some stuff cut on the cutting room floor for part 2. So we'll have to see. It comes out next June.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. That's the end of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, part 1. If you liked it, leave us a like, subscribe, comment. Let us know, once again, what your favorite Mission Impossible film is. Follow us on our other sites, such as Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you decide.
Whatever you do.
Yeah, whatever you do. And your mission, should you choose to accept it. Sure. Yeah.
It's fine. Whatever. But until that next time, my friends, I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And this mission will self-destruct in 3, 2...